is the government corrupt for whatever reason? Even if it's not and it's perceived to be, your currency will suffer from liquidity, or the part of the pair will suffer from liquidity. You also need to consider things like time zones. For example, during the Asian time zone, which is our time zone here at the moment, we would expect that the Japanese yen will have high liquidity, the Australian dollar will have high liquidity, and the New Zealand dollar will have liquidity, although not as high as the other two, simply because it's a much smaller country. Doesn't necessarily mean that during the European time zone that the Australian dollar and the New Zealand dollar will have as high liquidity as it does during the day, nor for that matter the yen, simply because the banks providing the liquidity are no longer operating. Although they do have offshore branches and things like that, the liquidity can dry up, and particularly during times when Asia's closing and London or Europe's opening or not quite open, it is what we call a grey period, where liquidity can dry up quite significantly for an hour or so and then increase as the market begins to open throughout the European time zone. Similarly, you will find this exists on a Monday morning when all markets have been closed, and Sydney is basically, Australian Eastern Seaboard is basically the first market open in the world for the new week. You will find that for the first couple of hours, particularly before Asia comes in, which is generally 2 hours behind us, that there will be very, very low liquidity. Now, some people will take advantage of that, and they do take advantage of it, and you need to be aware that that's the case. This economic calendar, which I've pulled up, is supposed to show you all the economic releases that are coming out, and for some reason it's not doing it at the moment, but it will show you all the economic releases that are coming out in every country that we consider relevant over the next week. I'll just try and do it today and see if we can get something to show you. No data, so apparently there's nothing coming out. There we go. Okay, so what I've done here is I've pulled out for the next month all the data being released. Now, what we do is to try and keep the pages as clean as possible. To try and keep the pages as clean as possible, we refer to flags. If you put your cursor on the flag, it will come up with the country that's relevant. Now, today we've got GfK Consumer Confidence Survey for May coming out in Germany. Now, Germany is one of the major contributors to the euro from an economic point of view. That may have an impact on the value of the euro. However, the trade balance in the krona will probably have very little effect, and the United Kingdom BBA loans for house purchases will probably have little effect on the euro, but will have an effect on the pound. Dallas Fed manufacturing activity, etc., etc., and you can go through these and work out which country is coming out with economic statements, which is a fundamental determinant of what currencies could do. And I can assure you, for those that haven't traded currencies, and even for those of you that have, some of these figures will affect currencies, and they will affect them very, very quickly. So you do need to be aware of when when there's a possibility that an economic figure, although it's a lag figure, is coming out on your currency, because the price impact can be quite significant and it will be extremely quick. Those figures are the unemployment figures, anything that's going to affect consumer spending. CPI figures, retail sales figures are all very, very much will very much affect currency valuations. So if you're looking at the Australian dollar versus the US dollar, you need to be aware when figures are coming out in the US to take advantage, not to take advantage, but really to protect your position. The easiest way to do it that we've found, and in my experience I've found, is that you trade up to a figure. If you're not sure of what it is and the impact it may have, you square up. There is no commission in currency trading on the GetTrader platform, particularly on the mini platform. There is a spread, but there's a spread in every market. You should square up and then go square into the announcement, let the market thus